Hey, I'm Melita, and this is my channel, The Midnight Librarian. Today I will be talking about my March book haul, the books I have obtained in March. Okay, so when I did my February book haul, I had wanted to do something to kind of keep myself accountable, because to keep me from overbuying books, I made this rule where I can only buy as many books as I read physically. I could only buy as many books as I had read that month that I already owned. So for instance, I read 8 books in January. 6 of them I had already owned. 2 of them I bought after, or like one of them was new that I bought in January that I read, and I think the other one was an audiobook that I decided I liked, and so bought the physical copy. That's what I mean. In February, I went a little ambitious and ended up buying a bunch of books that were brand new to me, and only read 8 books, 6 of which I have already own and had on my physical TBR. So for this month, I worked it out a little differently. So what I think, I'm still going to go with the same concept, but I'm not counting book of the month books, I'm realizing. And I think what I'm going to do in the future, I'm still working it out, but is give myself a book budget. That way I'm not like overspending. So yeah. So for the month of March, I read 11 books, 6 of which I already owned previously, and 6 books that I've already owned previously. And for this book haul, there are 6 new to me books that I ordered and have now, though I bought 16 technically, but we're not counting book of the month books, so that takes away 3 for this month. Thank goodness. The others, aside from those 6, I actually have already read before and wanted physical copies of because I enjoyed the books so much. So let's get into those. So let's go ahead and just get into my book of the month books for the month of March. So I was really just excited about the book of the month books for March because I think there were 7 selections. This is not promoted, I just enjoy their services. Though I do have like an affiliate link down below if you are interested in using that to join book of the month. But I was really excited for March because it had like 7 selections to choose from. I chose 3 of them. I believe all 3 were from those selections, because usually I end up getting like 1 from the selection for the month, and then like 1 or 2 add-ons that are not necessarily part of the selection, but like part of the add-on thing, or like are backlist books that I didn't think about, or I'm now currently interested in. I don't know. But this time, all 3 of them were from the March selection. The book of the month book that I chose to be my book of the month was the Book of Cold Cases by Simone St. James. I have not read from Simone St. James before. I've been wanting to. The books always seem very interesting. I believe this one has to do with true crime and a podcast. A true crime blogger gets more than she bargained for while interviewing the woman acquitted of 2 cold case slayings in this chilling new novel from the best-selling author of The Sundown Motel. So, and I believe it's following like 2 different timelines. One from 1977, Claire Lake, Oregon, was shaken by the Lady Killer murders. 2 men seemingly randomly were murdered with the same gun. And then we're following Shea Collins in 2017 is a receptionist, but by night she runs a true crime website. The Book of Cold Cases, a passion fueled by the attempted abduction she escaped as a child. So yeah, really interested in it. I've heard good things so far. Not that I've heard very many things, but still excited to get to this eventually. And then my 2 add-ons from the same March pick, I have Tell Me Everything, The Story of a Private Investigation by Erica Krauss. I believe this is part memoir and part literary true crime. Tell Me Everything is the mesmerizing story of a landmark sexual assault investigation and the female private investigator who helped crack it open. That's all I know. That's all I want to know. It sounded very interesting. It feels like it like sounds like it's gonna be pretty heavy in terms of content. And then my other bonus was one of my most anticipated releases, along with the Book of Cold Cases, but that is The Cartographers by Pango Books. A highly imaginative thriller about a young woman who discovers that a strange map in her deceased father's belongings holds an incredible deadly secret, one that will lead her on an extraordinary adventure and to the truth about her family's dark history. So, I've been interested in Pango Books' work before. I have the Book of M. I have yet to read it. I need to read some of their works. Next book I got from Pango Books, which is an app online. It's kind of like a used bookstore, but online, in which, like, bookstore essentially, where people like you and me can post books, or can post books and sell them for a cheaper price than what we bought them for. Basically, like, I do that when I just want to get rid of books and make more rooms on my shelves or floor. And it's a good way to find books that you're interested in for a lower price. So I have been specifically looking for the series of Unfortunate Events. These are books that I had read back in elementary school. I think I read like the first 6, and then when I got into college, I thought I needed to have more grown-up books, so I got rid of all my childhood books, which was dumb. And now I want them back, so I've been slowly getting them back. So this one is The Bad Beginning, and basically the series Unfortunate Events, if you don't know, is following 3 orphan children as they are kind of just shuffled from one person to the next as they're trying to escape this repulsive villain in itchy clothing. Greedy and repulsive villain who's trying to get their inheritance. So I know that, like, I originally read these back in elementary school just before the movie adaptation came out that featured Jim Carrey. My mom challenged us to read the first 3 books in order to see the movie. I completed that challenge and hated the movie. And continued on for 6 books in the series, and then just stopped. And I haven't watched the TV adaptation, which features Neil Patrick Harris. I kind of want to, because I enjoy Neil Patrick Harris as an actor, but I also want to dive back into the books because I remember really enjoying them. So I got that from Pango Books, and it was, I think, $2 for these, and I've been having a heck of a time trying to find them in my local used bookstore. So my next one is actually 2 here that I pre-ordered because they are pre-ordered from bookshop.org, which, loving that website, and I love pre-ordering from them mostly, but it's hard to pre-order too, because then it's like I see that the book's coming out and I want to order it, but it's like I almost forget that I've already ordered it. So I've nearly almost ordered a couple books twice now. And so what I'm doing is, like, I'm only pre-ordering at the beginning of the month for books that are coming out within the next month or 2, and that's it. So, and then the rest have to already be come out. So these ones I pre-ordered. Super excited that I did. One of them was on my most anticipated books, part 1, and that is Red Paint, the ancestral autobiography of a Coast Salish punk by Sasha Lapointe. I'm sorry if I said that completely wrong. But yeah, this is a autobiography, and an Indigenous artist blends the aesthetics of punk rock with traditional spiritual practices of the women in her lineage in this bold contemporary journey to reclaim her heritage. Haven't heard any reviews of this yet, but this is something that I am very interested in. I have a couple people in my life that are, I want to say, half a generation older than I am. They're not quite my mom's age, but they're still older than me, where they were in that punk era and they still have punky elements to them, but they don't necessarily show it in their day-to-day life. But I've heard snippets, so I'm kind of excited to read this book to kind of gain more ground. I guess, if that makes sense. I don't know. It's also just an Indigenous memoir, so I'm really excited about it. So this finally came in. I'm hoping to read it soon. I'm hoping to read all these soon. We'll see when I actually get to them. The other one is another Indigenous read, and that is The Woman in the Woods and Other North American Stories, a cautionary fables and fairy tales book. Trickster rabbits and Ragaroo shapeshifters so frightening you shouldn't speak their name. That's just the start of this collection of folklore from Indigenous people of North America retold in comic form. This 5th volume of cautionary fables and fairy tales graphic anthology series is a thrilling, funny, and totally unexpected take on stories spanning North America, with loads of traditional stories from Indigenous nations such as the Taino, Navajo, Ottawa, and more. Sorry if I said Taino wrong. But yeah, I'm super excited about this. This seemed like a really fun one to get into. I'm wondering, okay, the editors are Kel McDonald, Kate Ashwin, and Alina Pete, and this cover is absolutely just, I really enjoy this cover, and the cover artist is Alina Pete, actually, so yeah, be a fun one to get into at some point. Another graphic novel that I got is Herding Cats by Sarah Anderson. This is a Sarah Scribbles collection, so this is the 3rd one in the series, not that you have to read them in order. I read the 2nd one, I think, in February, but I've always loved Sarah Anderson's work. They are web cartoonists and basically have put their web cartoons into some volumes, and this is like the 3rd volume in it. I really enjoy the work. It's really simple, and I connect with a lot of the stuff that they end up saying, because they do end up talking about like social anxiety and like trying to balance that with staying at home alone and like falling into depression, and there's just a lot of social commentary that I've just really enjoyed, and it's really funny, so I thought I'd get more of their work. Okay, the next one is one that I have read before. I'm trying to think when I read it. Let's look into that section. Through this month I was looking at was watching other people's, I was watching BookTube and saw that people were like putting out books that I know I've read before, and it's one of those like yes moments of just like, okay, I've read that already. You're like, no worries. It's the weird accomplishment that I've read something before, like a booktube, or like have read something, and then a booktuber is just getting into it. So I think a while ago, Kayla from Books and Lala had said that she was interested in reading this book. It's on her TBR, I believe, and I have read it. I just didn't have the physical version, and so I got it. And it's one that I actually do think about it quite often. It looks like I've only rated it a 3-star, but I think I'm gonna have to push it up to a 4. But I read it back in 2019, but it's one that I still think about. But as The Ghost Bride by Yang-Shi Chu, I read The Night Tiger last year and enjoyed it, but this one I thought was stronger. It's bothering me that this non-sticker is here, that it's a Netflix original series, though I am curious about it because I think enough time has passed from me reading the book that I could potentially watch the Netflix series and not be bothered by the changes in detail. But basically, this is 1893 in Malay. We are following Lilan, who is the daughter of a genteel but bankrupt Chinese family, has few prospects, but fate intervenes when she receives a proposal from the wealthy and powerful Lim family. They want her to become a ghost bride for their family's only son, who died under mysterious circumstances. Rarely practiced ghost marriages are often meant to placate a restless spirit. Such a union would guarantee Li Lan a comfortable home for the rest of her days, but at what cost? As she reluctantly considers the offer, Li Lan is unwillingly drawn into the shadowy parallel world of the Chinese afterlife, with its ghost cities and vengeful spirits. There, Li Lan must uncover the Lim family's darkest secrets and the truth about her own family, but she is trapped in this ghostly world forever. So yeah, I really did enjoy this, and I think it was because I actually didn't like Li Lan before she went into the Chinese afterlife, though I don't think it was her fault, but she was fairly naive. I feel like, from what I remember, it's been, like I said, I read this back in 2019, so I'm trying to remember, but I really enjoyed her exploration of the afterlife, and this kind of creepy element to it, and just really unique. It was a really unique afterlife, honestly. So yeah, next one I have also read before. I think I read this back in February, but that is After Age Eve Brown by Talia Hibbert. This is the 3rd and final book in the Brown Sisters romance series. Again, I don't think you need to read them in order, but it's like there's little details that might spoil you for the one before. So this is the 3rd book. We are following Eve Brown, who is the youngest brown sister, and she has she doesn't know what to do with her life. She has had a couple ideas that fell through, and there's others that she's just kind of given up on, because she has this expectation that, like, as much as she's gonna love a job that as much as she wants to love her job, she also knows that inevitably it's gonna fail, and that's gonna hurt more if she loves that job more. So she ultimately just is afraid to put in the effort. Yeah. But ultimately she is living at her parents' house and living off her trust, and her parents are tired of it, so they have cut her off and want her to live on her own and maintain a job for a year before they add her back onto it. So in spiteful rage and in spite, she drives off same day and ends up in a little town where a bed and breakfast is hiring a chef, or is interviewing for a chef position. And she walks in totally just unprepared and just kind of wows not the B&B owner, but his friend. The B&B owner is this kind of dude who's on the autism spectrum. He wants things a specific way, and that is not Eve Brown. He is totally flabbergasted by her and just her brashness of being able to walk into an interview and just think that she's going to get the job. She does end up getting the job because they are in a tight spot. And so this is like a hate to love relationship that has a lot of aspects in it that I really enjoyed, and ultimately thought this was like the best book out of the three. I do hope to talk in more detail about a full series review here shortly, so I'll leave the rest of those details for that. But yeah, back in February I had wanted to do like a themed reading for books with hearts on them. That didn't end up happening, but I'm still like on the lookout for books with anatomical hearts on them, and this was a recent release that I had my eye on, and that is Aeros and the Natos, an anthology of death and desire, edited by Cassandra L. Thompson and Damon Barrett wrote. Death, my dear, is only the beginning. Freud once theorized that human beings are subject to two drives, love, aeros, and death, thanatos. While his psychoanalytic theory has long been expanded upon, no one can argue how fundamental love and death is to our existence. Within this collection are 12 stories that explore the fine line between these concepts. It also features a diverse group of authors whose often unheard voices tell stories of resilient strength and triumph through tragedy. Haunting as any Quill and Crow anthology, these stories seek to intrigue, inspire, and give a whole new meaning to Until Death Do Us Part. Looking through the featured authors, I'm not seeing anyone offhand that I know or have read from before, so this will be interesting to see, get a taste of some new authors. Next is a book that I did read in March, actually, so you should have it should be going out before this one, but my March wrap up, and that is Jurassic Park by Michael Crichton. So this one I had read audibly and really enjoyed, but my brother had me listen to it, and I really did enjoy it, that to the point where I wanted a physical copy. My brother has a physical copy too. His is a collector's edition. It's all illustrated and textured and has a box, because this is a book family. My mom raised a couple of librarians, like, for sure, or book lovers anyway. So, but I wanted my own copy, so, and one that I could potentially mark up. My one issue is that there is deckled edges, and I'm not a fan. Anyway, Jurassic Park, if you don't know what it's about, we follow a couple doctors, Dr. Alan Grant and Dr. Stanton. I can't remember her first name. Ellie Stanton. Dr. Ellie Stanton. Dr. Alan Grant is a paleontologist, so studies dinosaurs. Dr. Ellie Stanton is a paleobotanist, so the study of ancient plants. The plants back when the dinosaurs were roaming. This is a science fiction that is like having fun with some genealogy, and basically this rich man ends up wanting to make a theme park that is dinosaur themed. He brings Dr. Alan Grant and Dr. Ellie Stanton to his island off the coast of Costa Rica. It's Isla Nublar, and wants to essentially get their approval for or their go ahead for the completion of this park, where there is where his company has managed to bring back the dinosaurs. We also have a couple other characters, most famously in Malcolm, who's a mathematician, and a lawyer, and some other people that like basically are there to critique, but also test to see if this park is safe for people. So yeah, there's a lot of question of morality. There's a lot of question of should this even be happening. And the whole reason why this starts to begin with is because on the mainland of Costa Rica, children are being bitten by something, and newborns are dying. So I really enjoyed it. It was really fun. I think I gave this 4.5 out of 5 stars, and I'm hoping to get the next one in the series fairly soon. This next one I have also read. When did I read it? So I actually listened to it back when I had an Audible account, which has been years now since I've had that. No, I guess it's only been like a couple years, but that is A Certain Hunger. And I saw that Jan from Jack Agaton recently was reading this. It was one of those things where it's like because it was on Audible, because I think it had said only from Audible, and for some reason I thought it was just like an Audible exclusive, but which in reality just means that Audible has rights to it, so like no one else can distribute it essentially. But didn't know that wasn't for the physical copy. So this one also has an anatomical heart on it and on the side there. So this one I read back in 2020, and this is also one that I keep thinking about because it was really unique in terms of its writing, as well as like the content. So food writer Dorothy Daniels loves what she does. Discerning, meticulous, and very, very smart, Dorothy's clear mastery of the culinary arts makes it likely that she could, on any given night, whip up a more inspired dish than any one of the chefs she writes about. Dorothy loves sex as much as she loves food, and while she struggled to find a long-term partner that can keep up with her, she makes the best of her single life, frequently traveling from Manhattan to Italy for a taste of both. But there is something within Dorothy that's different from everyone else, and having suppressed it long enough, she starts to embrace what makes Dorothy's uniquely, terrifyingly herself. Yeah, I remember really enjoying this one. I liked it more than I thought I would, and it like surprised me. So when Jan Agaton started talking about wanting to read it, I'm just like, I want a physical version. So I got it, and yeah, it's one that I also think about quite often. I rated this 4 out of 5 stars. And hopefully I'll be able to like read it again at some point. Yeah, this one I also talked about in my March wrap-up, which I'll hit linked in the cards as well as down below, but that is Nothing to See Here by Kevin Wilson. I have been avoiding this one for a while just because I don't like the cover, which is very subjective. If you enjoy it, good on you. It's just not working for me. But I'm glad I read this though. So I listened to it in March through my library. It was available, and then after finishing it, I like wanted a physical copy because it's one that I do hope to get back to at some point, like reread. But basically we are following two old friends reunite under the strangest circumstances. Lillian and Madison haven't spoken since they were inseparable roommates at boarding school, but now, more than 10 years later, Madison needs Lillian's help in raising her twin stepkids. The catch is that the twins spontaneously combust when they get agitated. Their skin igniting with beautiful startling flames. Lillian accepts the job, and over one human demanding summer, everything she thought she knew about love, family, and empathy is turned completely and irreversibly upside down. So this was like strange, but it's like a strange element, but like everyone, or at least our main character, is kind of acting like, yeah, that happens. Let's like try to figure it out and move on. So there's like a weird mundane quality about this book that I really enjoyed, as well as I enjoyed the narrator. So if you have a chance to listen to this, I do suggest it. Mira Ireland is the narrator for it, and I've listened to them before in Sleeping Beauties by Stephen King and Owen King, and I didn't like that book, but I liked Marin's narration, and the same with this book. So, well, I like this book way more than Sleeping Beauties, but I really do enjoy Marin's narration. Okay, these next few, this one I found I love. So I was able to go to my local bookstore recently and just kind of peruse, and I finally found the science section. Not that I had been looking for it necessarily, but it's like it finally dawned on me that all the science nonfiction that I enjoy listening to and reading, I could find in the science section rather than the new nonfiction section. So I finally went in there and ended up finding this one, which sounds really fun. It's actually, I think this was in the gardening section, but this is Nature Anatomy, The Curious Parts and Pieces of the Natural World by Julia Rothman, author and illustrator of Farm Anatomy, with the help of John Niekraz. So basically, okay, it cut off somewhere, so I'm hoping so basically this is Nature of Anatomy, The Curious Parts and Pieces of the Natural World by Julia Rothman, author and illustrator of Farm Anatomy, with the help of John Niekraz. So basically, I don't know, it's like something that I have been wanting to do with my garden, in terms of like keeping a record of what's what through illustration, because I'm very much like a visual learner, but also like to help me navigate like gardening in the future and like what works and what doesn't. But this is just like a fun, I don't know, I have like a book that's like the secret of like reading the weather, and I think that this is going to be helpful in terms of just nature anatomy, because it's like, I mean, it has illustrations in it. This is like, I always thought this would be a cool job to do, of just like take something seemingly mundane or like of interest to me and just like expand on it and make it like a guide full of illustrations. So this is really, I mean, really fun. I can't wait to like dive deeper into this. And in that same realm, I ended up finding, so that was in the gardening section, but at first I went to the science section. I was like, oh, I need to come here more often. I mean, not necessarily to the bookstore, but to the science section of my bookstore, because I ended up finding The Sound of a Wild Snail Eating by Elizabeth Tova Bailey. This one I had heard good things from Allie from, I forget their handle on YouTube, but I'll have it down here. But it's a booktuber that I follow. I really love her work. I believe she's 27 years old and is living in Belgium with her now husband. So, and she moved there when she was like 21. 27, 25, I'm not sure. But she is a big fan of nature and snails in particular, has a bunch of plants, and she's constantly going on walks and just kind of taking us along with her. And she at one point ends up talking about the sound of a wild snail eating fairly recently, I feel like, and she just absolutely loved this. I've also heard good things. I posted this on Instagram recently as a recent haul or a recent book purchase, and had other people commenting saying this is one of their favorite books. And so I'm really excited to get into this. I don't know what it's about really, other than the earthly adventures of a woman and a gastropod. Here. In a world that beautifully demonstrates the rewards of closely observing nature, Elizabeth Tova Bailey shares an inspiring and intimate story of her encounter with a Neohelix albolabris, a common woodland snail. While an illness keeps her bedridden, Bailey watches a wild snail that has taken up residence on her nightstand. As a result, she discovers a solace and sense of wonder that this mysterious creature brings in some, and comes to a great understanding of her own place in the world. Intrigued by the snail's molluscan anatomy, cryptic defenses, clear decision-making, hydraulic locomotion, and courtship activities, Bailey becomes an astute and amused observer. So This one sounds like it's going to be real fun, actually. So I was excited to find this. I'm super excited about it. And then this next one I also read for March, and that is The Trouble with White Women, A Counter History of Feminism by Kyla Schuler. This one I really just kind of appreciated. I remember seeing it on Libro, and it's this cover that really like drew me to it. Like I love this bright yellow with pink. Very bold. But I found it on Libro, was attracted to it, kind of got put on my radar. But what really interested me in it was when a student assistant of mine at the university I work with came up to me and asked me about it, because they liked talking to me about books, and because they were trying to get it through interlibrary loan, and for some reason we just couldn't get it, whether because it was too new or like we just had like some minor like suspicions of just like why aren't we getting this book, because there's like, I mean, obviously some titles aren't available to us, but like this felt real weird in that we couldn't get it. So they able to utilize the library, and that when we couldn't get it through interlibrary loan, they were able to get it for the library through cataloging. Cataloging got it for them because they were taking a critical race, gender, and sexualities class, and were doing a report that needed this book. So and now I've found that like we've already sent it out through the interlibrary loan after they were done with it. So, and they like talked to me about it, and that really put this on my radar in terms of I need to get to this. And so I listened to it for the month of March, which I briefly talked about in a 4-day reading blog video. But it's like I picked it up and put it back down, and then finally just like ended up going for it after that reading blog. And I'm really glad I did, mostly because like I was kind of intimidated by this, because I feel like I didn't get much of any education when it came to feminism. Like a lot of things, like our education system sucks, but like I didn't even know where to start. And I'm glad that I started with this, because I never quite understood like why there was such a critical view on feminism, just like, oh, feminism's bad, like man haters, like all these different views. And I'm like, okay, but why? Like I don't know anyone with that, but at the same time I didn't know a whole lot of people that would like blatantly say I'm a feminist because of these critiques. So this is helpful. This was so helpful. Each chapter basically follows two people, one more prominent in the feminist history than another, but they still played an important role, and more often than not the role was kind of like not covered up but forgotten about because of the white feminist perspective just kind of did so. So I really appreciated this. It had me gain a bit more ground for it, and I feel like I've learned so much through it. I gave this 5 out of 5 stars. Because I there's so much I just didn't know, and like I listened to it and like wasn't quite done with it and went and got a physical version, because the problem I have with like going from one person to the next and then back to the person and then having a whole nother chapter and going from 2 other people from back and forth, I have a hard time keeping people straight in terms of who's who. So I needed the physical version so I can go back through here and look some people up and just get more of a perspective. So if you have any feminist reads that is more on the counter history as opposed to like the white feminist settler history, I would love to know. Please recommend down in the comments down below. Otherwise, like, I really did enjoy this. So, as well as not only all the perspectives of just like not only like the people that we don't really hear about, but also like some of the critiques that we have about them now, how like no one's perfect, and that yes, they were fighting for certain causes that we deem appropriate for feminism, but like in one way or another didn't quite align with what we view now. But also like there was different perspectives. There was not only like and what the impact of those were. So particularly I enjoyed that there was an Indigenous perspective to this, that we got to follow Zikawasa and her, and their impact on feminism, as well as their continuous impact on feminism, but also like what they were fighting against, in terms of who was it that we got like the woman who thought of Alice Fletcher, who thought that Native people Indigenous people needed a mother to help guide them. So this subtler feminism basically was the one that like kept saying that the reservations needed to be like helped with the Dawes Act, essentially. So that was like, I learned so much, as well as other things like trans issues within feminism, as well as Black issues within feminism, just so much. So yeah, eager to learn more. I'm glad that I started out with that. And then finally, my last book that I purchased for the month of March was one I kind of ran into that seemed really interesting, and that is We Are the Middle of Forever, Indigenous Voices from Turtle Island on the Changing Earth, edited by Dara Jamal and Stain Rushworth. Although for a great many people, the human impact on Earth, countless species becoming distinct, pandemics claiming millions of lives, and climate crisis causing worldwide social and environmental upheaval was not apparent until recently. This is not the case for all people or cultures. For the indigenous people of the world, radical alteration of the planet and of the life itself is a story that is many generations long. They have had to adapt, to preserve, to be courageous and resourceful in the face of genocide and destruction, and their experience has given them a unique understanding of civilizational devastation. An innovative work of research and reportage, We Are the Middle of Forever places Indigenous voices at the center of the conversations about today's environmental crisis. The book draws on interviews with people from different North American Indigenous cultures and communities, generations, and geographic regions who share knowledge and experience, their questions, their observations, and their dreams of maintaining the best relationship possible to all of life. A welcome antidote to the despair arising from the climate crisis, We Are the Middle of Forever brings to the forefront the perspectives of those who have long been attuned to climate change and will be an indispensable aid to those looking for new and different ideas and responses to the challenges we face. So this seemed very impactful and very interesting. I have not heard of these two authors, Dara Jamal or Stan Rushworth. I'm going to have to look more into them, but I think this book will be real exciting and real interesting. So yeah, those are the books that I got for the month of March. My battery's dying, so this is perfect timing. So if you've read any of these, let me know your thoughts down below. I would love to hear them. Otherwise, I hope that you are in the mental mindset to enjoy your reading, and I will see you again in another video shortly. Cheers.